Hello everyone and welcome back to part 3 of the Madeleine McCann series. So today we are going to be looking over the crying incident that I mentioned in the last video. And I want to start off with this video first because there's two of them. And the reason I want to start with this one first is just because they both have two very different vibes. Also, if you can give the video a thumbs up, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy it, please subscribe so you can see more videos like this in the future as I upload them.
I cannot love Madeleine more than I love her. You know, I would never have taken a risk. It was something that wasn't even a decision. That's how safe it felt, you know.
What information did we have to suggest it wasn't going to be safe? We were dining 50 yards away. We were making regular checks. We were going into the apartment, always quiet every night. And if we had thought it was unsafe for a minute, if there was any conscious element that somebody was going to get into that apartment and steal your child, then of course we wouldn't have done that.
But it wasn't just a matter of being unsafe, was it? I mean, is it the case? You can clear it up right here now. Was Madeleine upset the night before about being left alone? Had she had a moment and got out of bed, started crying and started looking for
I
you?
mean, I don't want to dwell on it too much. I mean, I don't know if you saw the documentary last night, so I mean, I have talked about it. Madeleine made a comment in passing that, where were you when I cried? Not just to Mummy, by the way, just generally. It just seemed a bit odd. I mean, it was very kind of passing remark, and we just thought she doesn't usually wake up, and she woke up, that means that, you know, she must have fallen back asleep very quickly. And then she moved on. You know, she moved on.
Anybody with young children will understand that children cry, they wake up at night. During that week, there was one night, and we can't give too much detail because it's part of the investigation file, but there was one night where Madeleine had come through and one of the other twins was crying. So, you know, and when she did mention it to us and we asked her about it, and she just thought she was completely fine. And we thought, was it when they were bathing, getting them, you know, first putting them down in that period when they're really tired? Of course, with hindsight, in the context of what happened, of Madeleine being abducted, it's put in a very different light, and it's put in a very different light to us. And of course, we emphasise that.
If Madeleine hadn't been abducted, we'd never have thought of that comment again.
Okay, so in this Sky interview, you do see that Kate is, you know, very much saying this is an event that she doesn't want to dwell on, that it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a comment that Madeleine made in passing about being woken up in the middle of the night. She had said her brother and her were woken up in the middle of the night and that they were crying and that they couldn't find them. So she is saying it's not that big of a deal. Gerry then cuts in and says that he doesn't want to share more details about the incident because they can't disclose that, and, you know, that it could possibly mess up the investigation, that it wasn't a huge event. So the reason that that's going to come into play in this next video is because you can see that their behavior and the way that they are using the details completely is different than the way they speak about it in this video. So one video is very much concerned and the other one is kind of just blowing the whole incident off and acting as if it had nothing to do with it.
We obviously told the police because we thought, does this indicate that someone's been around the night before? And that's what's woken her up, which is significant. I've persecuted myself over and over again about that statement, because you think, why didn't I kind of just hold her and say, what do you mean, what do you mean, what do you mean you woke up, and kind of. But you don't think that. I mean, it's easy saying that after what's happened.
I think the worst thing is we kind of almost thought about not going, and did. We weren't sure we were going to get into the tapas, remember? And
in fact, we were all going to go up to the Millennium again. That was with the kids, which is what we did the first night. It was just because the walk was so long and we didn't have a buggy and the kids were tired by that time of night. But we were, we did talk about going up to the Millennium that night.
I think the worst thing is we kind of almost thought about not going, and did. We weren't sure we were going to get into the tapas, remember? And
In fact,
But,
we were
you know,
all going to go up to the Millennium again. That was with the kids, which is what we did the first night. It was just because the walk was so long and we didn't have a buggy and the kids were tired by that time of night. But we were, we did talk about going up to the Millennium that night.
So if you focus in on just what they're saying and the emotion that they're trying to give out when they're saying it, they're showing that they're very much regretting their movements that night. Very different than what they said in the last video about the comment. They are saying that they wish that they would, or at least Kate is saying that she wished she would have probed Madeleine more. Maybe she would have got some more information and she hasn't stopped persecuting herself for this. Well, in the previous one, she said it wasn't that big of a deal. It kind of, Madeleine blew it off and, it wasn't some, kids say things and that's kind of the end of it. So Gerry, being who he is, wants to piggyback off of Kate's lie and then mentions to her if she remembers that a year ago that they had thought about not even going to Tapas because they possibly couldn't get in. And then Kate says they were planning to go to Millennium instead and so that they could bring their children like the first night. So the reason this statement is a lie is because they were able to get into Tapas. When they got there the first day, they had booked the restaurant for the rest of the week that they were there. So they had reservations. So for him to sit here and lie and say they weren't sure if they'd be able to get in shows you that they're not telling the truth. If you were going to be more regretful about a situation, wouldn't you be more regretful about the fact that you chose to go to Tapas and not take your children versus going to Millennium and taking your children? Because then it wouldn't have happened at all. She's not crying about that part. He's not upset about that part. They're upset about the part of not probing Madeleine more about what woke her up in the middle of the night. And then they even bring in that they thought maybe it had something to do with sedation because, the kids were very tired. So this is why I think this interview stands out, because if they are lying about something like this, not being able to get into Tapas, even though they had reservations, what else are they lying about?
Obviously it's been quite tough. There's been a lot of miles and a lot of climbing, and there's obviously highs and lows and that, and the fact that we've all worked together so well. I think we all know why we're here. We know it's for such a good cause, and that just keeps you going. Yeah, I know this won't help Madeleine, but I'd hate to think that any other child would have to go through this, and the family would have to go through what we've been. Although Madeleine has been very much on my mind through this, I know that is helping.
The reason I find this clip important is because Kate slips up and says that this benefit would not help Madeleine. So at this point, they're still letting you think that Madeleine is missing and, that she's out there and they want to find her and that they will find her one day. So this is a missing person's bike benefit. So I'm just curious, why would you say something like that if you truly believe that your child is still out there? Again, this is because she knows that Madeleine is deceased. That's why she knows this event won't benefit Madeleine, but she's hoping it benefits others.
A lot of people over the weeks local people who've given up a lot of time. You've talked about the support that they've given you. I met people who didn't go to work for more than a week because every day they were down on the beach searching the streets. Did you, as a mother, Kate, just sometimes think, I've got to go and be out there with them. I want to go and just physically look as well?
I did. We've been working really hard, really. Apart from the first 48 hours, as Gerry says, were incredibly difficult and we were almost non-functioning, I'd say. But after that, you get strength from somewhere. We've certainly had loads of support and that's given us strength, and it's been able to make us focus, really. So we have actually, in our own way, it might not be physically searching, but we've been working really hard and doing absolutely everything we can, really, to get Madeleine back.
Esta antiga funcionária do Tapas conta que de imediato vários colegas deixaram o trabalho para ajudar nas buscas. Enquanto isso, nas horas que se seguiram, durante quase todo o tempo, os McCann permaneceram no apartamento.
Os meus colegas ficaram indignados porque eles foram. Um deles até ficou com os pés vermelhos, cansados, e ficou indignado porque ele foi, não era nada nem os pais.
This interview set the cat amongst the pigeons because it was the first time that it was acknowledged that Kate had failed to look for their missing daughter and had put other matters before a physical search.
And I've spoken to a lot of people over the weeks local people who'd given up a lot of time. You've talked about the support that they've given you. I met people who didn't go to work for more than a week because every day they were down on the beach searching the streets. Did you, as a mother, Kate, just sometimes think, I've got to go and be out there with them. I want to go and just physically look as well.
I mean, I did. I mean, we've been working really hard, really. Apart from the first 48 hours, as Gerry said, were incredibly difficult, and we were almost non-functioning, I'd say. But after that, you get strength from somewhere. We've certainly had loads of support, and that's given us strength. It's been able to make us focus, really. So we have actually, in our own way, it might not be physically searching, but we've been working really hard and doing absolutely everything we can, really, to get Madeleine back.
If this one interview had not offered up enough bizarre commentary, Gerry was not yet finished. He was about to find the silver lining in the disappearance of his young daughter.
There has been so much goodwill and humanity out there that it really has restored, that one evil act actually has resulted in so much good.
Okay, so in those few clips, Kate is saying, after only 3 weeks, because that's when this was recorded, that they were feeling stronger, they were feeling more confident in the situation, and that they were kind of emotionally not going up and down so much. I mean, you can look at them and see that they look very healthy. They don't look like they have lost any sleep. They don't look like they have missed a meal. They look like they've been working out and tanning and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just a little bit confused again how this is only 3 weeks after their kid goes missing accidentally, and this is how you look. Also, Gerry had mentioned in this interview, I don't know if it was said though in this video, that he's hoping that the template that they laid down helps people in the future find their kids. I don't see how the template that they've laid down can help do anything. They have laid down absolutely no template. They've admitted to not searching for their children. They only do things behind the scenes, which nobody has seen anything other than the fact that they have worked with Scotland Yard. So they have been given up to £14 million since Madeleine has gone missing to find her. And they also have Operation Grange that's been set up for them. So this was set up by Tony Blair, and it has been followed through by the prime ministers after that. So basically, Gerry McCann used to work for the government. Okay, the reason I want to play this press conference is because there's a reporter who asked Gerry and Kate, how do they keep it together during this time that Madeleine's missing? And basically, what are they doing to, get through this? Because they seem very calm and put together. And when he asked that, you can see this look that Kate gets in her eyes. It's this piercing look of, how dare you ask that? You should know better.
We're going to have 1 minute of photographs, please. 1 minute of photographs, and then please sit down. But how do you go with these feet? You are, relaxed is not the right word, but you seem very well spoken. You think about what you say. How do you feel when you're sitting here and talking about this awful thing, what happened?
I think, we're not going to talk about what happened in detail. Emotionally, that is incredibly difficult to talk about how we were at the time, but we have had a psychologist, and we've had taken a lot from it. And in the very early days and hours after Madeleine's abduction, we felt completely helpless.
And one of the third very peculiar things for me was the blogging that Gerry did about minor issues. It just, nobody thinks about those things again. Your child is missing. There's nothing, you can't have a normal conversation. So these are some of the things that were so striking to me as a profiler. I'm not saying this is evidence that they did anything to their child, but it's certainly striking that they do not behave in the way a kind of missing child would.
He would later develop this and become part of a movement to censor British media, more of which later. The interviewer, fawning rather than robust, failed to tackle Gerry's assertion that they had not encouraged the media attention, and further, as many could uncomfortably see, were actually lapping it up.
Due to this massive media demand on us, not the other way around, not us asking for media, we were advised that we should have a family spokesperson, and we asked the Foreign Office to provide that.
So I just wanted to mention how this kind of reminds me of certain other individuals who were guilty of killing their children or stepchildren and disposing of them, or trying to present that they were missing, such as Letitia Stotch with Gannon Stotch, basically Casey Anthony. She did the same thing with Kaylee Anthony, and even Dawn Wells and Candace Wells with Summer Wells. So that they're kind of following that pattern of that. Chris Profit and Katie Profit also, again, same thing. They do lots of interviews. They like the attention almost that they're getting from this. Even a lot of these I feel were accidental deaths. So the fact that they are thriving and basically prospering so much off of this media attention shows that there's something truly off with them mentally. So also we're going to tie that again to what I mentioned earlier about how they are working with the UK government on this case. They are getting lots and lots of money basically given to the campaign, Project Grange, for it. But also some of the people who are connected to this, such as Clement Freud and people that they've had dinner with after Madeleine McCann's gone missing, are very important players also to what we're going to introduce into the future. So if you don't know who Clement Freud is, look it up. He has a very, very sketchy past, has been accused of a lot of SA, and I believe, he admitted to all these things. So these are people that they teamed up with after Madeleine went missing to help them. So if you watch some of the channels like Candace Owens, she has lots of information on there about Clement Freud and kind of what he's attached to and what they were trying to accomplish. This is going to be the end of part 3. So next we're going to get into the Tappas 7 that were with Kate and Gerry on this vacation. We're also going to be getting into Robert Murat more so that you can kind of see how he is used as kind of like a ploy for the McCann and the friends to try to pin, Madeleine's disappearance on, just because of who he is and what his background is. It's going to start getting a little bit more deeper into the dark stuff of this case. So I want to thank y'all for clicking on this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and please share it with someone that you think will enjoy it as well, and subscribe so that way you can get more of these videos in the future if you're interested in them. I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll talk with y'all soon.